The COVID-19 pandemic caused significant disruptions in containerized goods demand that upset the US containerized logistics supply. As a result, ports became more clogged, leading to empty store shelves, increased prices, and longer waits before purchases. But we have definitely come a long way from the days of COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions, so it's only right to reflect on the current state of things. I mean, have things in our ports stabilized in 2022? Well, in this video, we'll look at the current situation across US ports to see if things have gotten better or worse. Let's get started. So in 2021, the US's 9 largest ports handled a record 50.5 million shipping containers, a 16% increase from 2020. Demand for goods had plummeted shortly after the pandemic's onset in March 2020. Specifically, ports across the US moved a total of 3.34 million total 20-foot equivalent units, TEU, in loaded imports in March 2022, up 3.2% year-on-year. But to paint a better picture of the current situation in US ports, let me draw your attention to the significant developments that have happened since COVID-19 disrupted things. Employment is down, while trade volumes are up. So even though port-related jobs have since revived after the steep decline during the early days of the pandemic, it's still 2% below its former peak, achieved towards the close of 2019 and the start of 2020. Currently, there are about 159,000 vacancies across the US in water transportation and support activities for water transportation sectors, which is up 8.2% year over year. As for trade volumes, US ports attained a record level last year of $2.9 billion, a 21.6% increase compared to 2020. And just to clarify, the 2020 volume was undermined in large part by the pandemic. 2021's volume increase can be attributed to a higher demand, which, in fact, saw it eclipse the previous record of $2.6 billion attained in 2018. Now, so far in 2022, trade volumes have been incredible despite persistent continued supply chain problems. And according to projections, the total volume is forecasted to exceed $3.5 billion by the year end, 22.2% higher than in 2021. The top 10 US maritime ports are busier. In the last couple of years, the top 10 maritime ports have been responsible for about 85% of the total 20-foot equivalent unit TEU volume handled throughout America, which translates to 27.2 million TEUs through the first half of the year, a 5.2% increase year over year. Import volume across these 10 ports totaled 13.4 million TEUs, up 7.9% from mid-year 2021. Ports like Houston, Charleston, New York, New Jersey, and Virginia achieved robust annual gains when it comes to the volume handled. Contrarily, some ports witnessed declines over the said duration. For instance, the Port of Los Angeles witnessed a 0.3% slip in operations compared to mid-year 2021. Elsewhere, Jacksonville and Oakland saw year-over-year volume down 9.6% and 5.5% respectively. Since some imports from the Asian continent were diverted from West Coast ports, import volumes increased at the ports of Houston, 29.4%, Charleston, 21.2%, and New York or New Jersey, 12.4%. China, specifically, was the main driver of imports, which constituted about 17% of goods getting into the US through April, followed by Mexico, 13.8%, and Canada, 13.5%. And while we're on this, I must mention that Asia accounts for over half of the imports received in America. Moving ahead, even though the Port of LA's market share has slumped since the end of 2021, from 20.2% to 19.6%, the ports of Long Beach and New York, New Jersey have witnessed an increase in market share to 18.1% and 17.7%. Getting back to the West Coast ports, these accounted for 48.6% of the cargo volume handled during the first 6 months of 2022, down from 49.6% at year-end 2021. And as I've already mentioned, this slump is in huge part thanks to the diversion of cargo to East Coast and Gulf ports due to fears of sluggishness and even downright non-operations at West Coast ports. Industrial port markets are having a decent run. Now, seeing as there has been heightened activity across the majority of the US ports, industrial demand has picked up well. Port industrial markets have been among the best performing in in the US, because they feed the nation's most populous metropolitan areas. Specifically, the industrial markets surrounding the top 10 US ports encompass over 4 billion square feet of space, which is about 25% of the country's total. The majority of the industrial markets around ports have had tougher market conditions than the US overall, with 7 boasting vacancy rates of 2% or lower as of mid-year 2022, including the Inland Empire, 0.6%, Savannah, 0.6%, Los Angeles, 1%, and New Jersey, 2%. With an average vacancy rate of just 2.3%, the port market's absorption totals so far in 2022 have lagged the US average, only representing 1.1% of the total inventory. Just 5 of the major port industrial markets, Inland Empire, Charleston, Savannah, Hampton Roads, and Seattle, yielded more than 4 million square feet of absorption year to date, with just Savannah and Charleston seeing the totals make up more than 5% of the inventory. Even so, all port markets recorded net occupancy gains during the first half of the year. What does the future hold? So, long story short, US ports have since recovered from the depths they went to during the pandemic. At the moment, they are performing even better than before, and going into the future, port fundamentals are poised to remain strong. Even so, a slowing economy, inflation, and supply chain issues could all temper growth expectations later this year and into 2023. So, what do you think about today's topic? Let me know in the comments section below. And while you're at it, smash that thumbs up button and share the video widely. Importantly, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications to never miss out on more interesting content just like this. Thanks for watching.